In this video, I'm going to go over everything that I saw in CES in terms of controllers. So it's a video really dedicated to controllers specifically. The first one on the list, which is a company and a product that I've already kind of addressed on my recap on day one. So Serafim, they're making a telescopic controller and they're going for the small form factor. In that department, if you like something that is pocketable, but you want something that is more ergonomic than say a Kishi V2 or a Backbone, this is going to be an interesting product for that kind of segment. It's got those nice ergonomic bumps in the back that you can also change. So I don't know if they're going to include multiple in the box or if you're going to be able to buy separate ones. That is unique to this product. I don't recall seeing that in the telescopic controller market. I don't recall seeing that in the controller market at all. So they have this unique touch about them. Hopefully this is something I'm going to be able to review for you guys. We exchange contacts and hopefully we'll be talking soon to try to put this in front of a camera and tell you all about it. The next one, and we won't talk too much about it because I actually have a whole video dedicated to this controller, is the MCON. And I said in that video that it was probably going to be one of the most interesting controllers I've seen on the entire show floor. And I doubled down on that statement. It's not probably, it is the most interesting that I've seen on CES this year. I don't know if it's a question of circumstances. To me, they felt ready. They knew they had a buzz, they had something, and they were there to showcase it. That's not something I've experienced a whole lot with all the brands that we're going to be talking about today. You have a controller attached to your phone using MagSafe that is Bluetooth, and it's shocking how good it felt. I'm so psyched for that product. They're on Kickstarter right now. They're having a crowdfunding. Great product. If you're interested in that one, go see the dedicated video. It's really interesting. Flydigi. So one thing I was super happy to meet, who I understand to be the CEO and who I've been talking pretty much ever since I've dealt with this company. The unfortunate thing, and I hope, because from what I understand, a lot of these people I met do watch my videos, which is awesome. But yes, when it comes to Flydigi, they didn't have anything that we don't know or that we haven't seen on the booth. However, I was able to see models I had not seen, like the Genshin Impact model. So freaking gorgeous. That Apex 4 is so beautiful. I also saw the pink one, looks great as well. And that one also had the stick caps like the Black Myth Wukong. Not the same design, but the same shape and feel. I was a little surprised by that. Overall, Flydigi, as you know, is a company that is kind of taking the controller world by storm. And I'll be honest, there are two things that was discussed in that booth that was private. One, I definitely cannot talk about. I want to make this clear. They're moving in big strides, and there is a subset of gamers that if they're not familiar with Flydigi, they will be, and it's going to be very exciting for them. I cannot say more. I gave my word, so I'm going to leave it at that. Just know that Flydigi is working on better and greater products. It's happening for sure. Unfortunately, I didn't have more details that I can share. I go out there and I share some of the feedbacks that I get in the comments about the things that you let me know that you'd like to see in the future. And one of the things that I mentioned to Flydigi was that there is demand for a symmetrical controller. And while I was not given the green light, yes, it's happening, they know and they are working on seeing how they could bring that to market. So, I think for sure we're going to see things like the Apex 5. I had no details about that in 2025. But I think there's a possibility that we'll also see a symmetrical controller. Clearly, they have a plan and they're working towards it. I think their brand is gonna capture more people's attention, which is a good thing. Then I looked at PXN, which PXN, right before I left, they sent me a wheel that I will be reviewing in the coming days/weeks. P5 is there as well for me to review. Funny enough, the rep that I usually talk to was the person that I met, but we realized only by the end. The one that they sent me is the regular model. And why do I say the regular model? Turns out P5 has an 8,000 hertz pulling rate controller, which is the black and purple one that you've seen. From what I understand, it's being sold right now only in local markets, and it's gonna potentially come internationally at some point. And when they do, rest assured that I'll be there reviewing it for you guys, but that's super exciting. 8,000 hertz is every 0.12 milliseconds. That is super tight. So of course, latency is always something that also has to be great for that to be even more valuable to have. But I'm super excited to test 8,000 hertz pulling rate and see what it feels like. So this is something I'll be reviewing the regular one very soon. I've heard some good things about it. I got to hold it. It feels nice, but I'll go more in depth in the review. BIGBIG WON. BIGBIG WON, which is one of the few companies that actually had a brand new controller on the floor, and they also had the coolest little goodie to share. I love it. This is going on my keys for sure. Talking about the controller, which is the one that you see on screen right now. I don't recall the model number. I could probably find it, but it's definitely a controller that was for the cost efficient market. And one of the things it is, it has a small screen on it so that you can use that to make adjustments. And actually a regular on the channel, Chantal McClure, actually I believe just bought one. I don't know if he received it, but that being said, this is a controller that if you are looking for something cost efficient, this is one to look out for. I don't have too much more details. That's one of the few products that were new on the show floor. I'm hoping as the controller space seems to grow and grow and grow constantly, that companies are going to reserve these types of events to announce, and they'll have at least one reviewer, which is me, that will be there next year for sure. I loved my experience. And, hopefully they'll have coverage and they'll know that their products are going to be seen by more and more people. And to create that kind of buzz and such a huge event for CES, I think is going to be important for some of those brands going forward. BIGBIG WON, I was super happy to meet them as well, and super excited to see what next they have in store. Now, a controller that completely took me off guard. I did not expect how huge their booth was. Out of all the controller companies, they were the biggest. And the reason is, and maybe some of you guys know, but they don't really operate like that in the Americas, at least not as far as I know. Machenike, Thunderobot, tons of product that had nothing to do with controllers, laptop, monitors, they're huge. But in terms of controller, they also had a huge selection and some super pretty option. That booth visit got me in contact with someone that I'll be reaching out very shortly to hopefully review more and more of their products, because the reality is I tried to review one Machenike controller that I had bought on AliExpress, and if you've seen my video about how I got scammed, that's one of the products that I never received. The only Machenike that I covered is the telescopic controller. I feel like I haven't got to experience the true Machenike. They had a new controller, G5 Pro V2, which I've seen some thumbnails come up here and there, but I haven't had time to study the controller because I've been so busy getting prepared for CES and everything. Anyways, that to say that I got to feel a lot of their products, and man, I didn't know that this company was this promising and this prominent in the gaming space. So that's a great contact that I've made that I'm super excited to see where that's going to bring me in the future. Next is, if you've seen my public post, DOBE. Now, I've covered DOBE in the past, and I will be reviewing their XShell 3 controller, which is what I call a cradle controller for the Switch. I got to feel it. It felt really nice. The one thing with the previous one was it was hard to get. They offset their products to other companies. So for example, the Nexi Go was basically DOBE Fomis, the company that I'm talking about, that makes them. XShell 3, super interesting. If you're into cradle controllers for the Switch OLED and Switch OG, that's one I'll be reviewing shortly. They wanted me to leave with the ones that they were showing at the show, but I had no room at all in my carry-on and bags. So I said, you know what, if you can ship it to me, because there's no way I can bring it back with me. Also, in my public post, I showed you guys a controller and I got to feel it, and it's interesting, but the truth is I need to connect it to a computer. It is a keyboard and mouse put into a controller. So this is really for people that plays shooting games. I'm super excited to see how it feels, how great it is. We have been talking about that about a month and a half ago. They were waiting to have the prototype ready, and this is the only one that they had at the show, but they're going to be shipping me one very soon so that I can review for you guys. So I really don't know at all how it feels. I'm just able to tell you at this point in time that this is a thing that I'll be reviewing it, and I'll let you know my findings as soon as I possibly can. Another brand that I met with is Aolion, and Aolion was kind of such a endearing experience in their booth. I basically showed up there. They had no idea who I was, and I was telling them, yeah, I reviewed one of your products and it's been doing very well, and there was a lot that got sold. They were like, no, we only have controllers in China. I'm like, no, your controllers are breaking that wall and they're being talked about on the international market, because the reality is resellers, they go on AliExpress and they sell their products. Honestly, it seemed like they had no no idea that was even happening. So I kind of opened their minds to a world they did not know existed. I got to see the K10. Now, of course, when it comes to Aolion, there's a lot of products that I recognize from other brands as well. So I wasn't able to distinguish exactly what was Aolion, but I'll be able to cover them more in the future. So that's going to be interesting. And based off of the K10, they have potential. I don't know if they fully manufacture their own or if it's completely a situation of finding an OEM, buying a product and rebranding it. But they have I think it's the J20. You can tell that they have a lot of product and that they were very passionate into their brand. So I'm super excited to see how that goes for the future. Real quick, one that I have no footage on because they weren't necessarily on the show, but I got to meet with the guys from the ELO team, which I talked about this controller. And guys, by the way, I'm going to be featuring it again because it's one of those products that I reviewed and I was like, oh, okay, this is nice. This has been knocking controllers well into my top 3. Right now, the ELO Vagabond is in my top 3 best telescopic controllers for the time being. And it's such a product that grows onto you. It's so good. There's not much I can say. And we had basically a private discussion. But if you're not familiar with the ELO Vagabond, go check my review. It's a great product. And just know that they are working towards the future. Like they're very dedicated to their brand. The product that they have is phenomenal. I'm excited to see the future. Just know that I met with the guys from ELO. Great product and great team, honestly. I love having a chat with them. Next is GameSir. And GameSir is one that out of all the companies that I've talked about during this video, let me make this very clear. GameSir is like the mad scientist, like just building stuff. And I met with the CEO, the young CEO. He's such a brilliant mind. I loved chatting with him and he really gave me like the entire breakdown. But here's the problem. I was not allowed to capture footage, but I did ask. I can talk about it, but on very surfacey level. Almost every controller and the entire landscape of GameSir, they had a newer one. Everyone, yes, a new Galileo, yes, a new Tarantula, yes, a new Nova Lite, a new Nova, a new G7, every controller, and new ones as well. So every controllers that you can think of for GameSir, just know that they're already designing new stuff. And by the way, the CEO, which I thought it had to be a thing, the CEO, and I asked him and he confirmed, he's the CEO, but he's also like a lead designer in the products. And it shows because GameSir has such a very put together design language. I thought he's got to have his hand in it. And indeed, it is the case. There are a lot that I could tell you about, but I can't. The G7 Pro is real, as you know by now, which even when I went to the booth, I couldn't capture footage of that controller shortly after they did the streaming. So if there's one thing with GameSir, as much as it was super exciting to speak with Beta, with the CEO, it was a little sad as well. It's a long trip, it's an expensive trip to go there and be told, no, don't film this. And literally an hour after, as I'm walking the booths, I get someone message me, did you see that? And I'm like, yeah, I was there an hour ago and I was not allowed to capture footage. So that was a little disappointing, but I have a great working relationship with GameSir, so I wanted to honor that. They asked me not to show footage. So, you know, I respect that. But just know that GameSir, everything you've seen in 2024, I don't see them slowing down at all in 2025. And I already have with me right now the Supernova, which I will be reviewing sometime in March when they launch. So that's already a controller that I got to feel. It was also on the show floor. Believe me when I say, there's a lot more coming from GameSir. One thing I can definitely say, in 2024 CES, there was a sighting of the Galileo G8 MFI version. So they basically brought that back out. So it was an all-white G8, but that one, and USB-C, but that one also had rumble. So this is a thing, but when is it gonna come out? I don't know. The updated Tarantula seemed to have different feature sets, but it was updated in terms of aesthetics. Oh, and by the way, on the Tarantula review I made, someone talked about, wouldn't it be cool if we had a Spider-Man and Venom edition? And so I mentioned that someone came up with that idea. And yeah, you know what, I'm gonna leave it at that because there's some legalities in that thing. So there's a new telescopic controller unreleased. that I've seen, which I think is going to be super interesting for a lot of people. It's not the controller that pushes the envelope, but it's kind of one of those products that dials everything in and does something that is for a broader market. So I'm so vague about, I'm so sorry guys, I have to, because not only could I not capture footage, but I asked if I could talk about it, and then again what I was told is yes, but surfacey. Because I think for GameSir it's important for them to have the ability to release that information for themselves. I appreciate the trust they put in me, so that's why I want to respect that. Put it this way, I'm putting GameSir into this kind of melting pot of controllers from CES, but if I would have been able to capture footage of every different things that we have never heard about, that was never shown, I would have had a dedicated video just for like, GameSir is gonna kill it in 2025. Because there are no other companies that was this, how can I put this? There was not a single company on the show floor that had this many options. It's crazy just how many new products they I'm so sorry guys, I feel like I'm teasing you. Just know that GameSir 2025, yes, they're gonna kill it with what they've shown me. And lastly, I asked the question, okay, so I'm gonna at least mention that. And again, I asked and they said yes. I did ask, we saw a G7 Pro with a logo that was not Xbox. What is that? And I was confirmed that also exists and that this is gonna happen. I don't know when, I don't know where, but you heard it here. Yes, and it will happen. I just don't know more details. That was super cool, and that was, I did not get to see it. I did not get to touch it. Oh, one thing I can mention, the G7 Pro, I'm so sorry. The G7 Pro, you probably, because now there's a lot of images online, that D-pad, that circular D-pad, that's a never before seen. So it's kind of the same concept as the dish, as the satellite, but it's really like just a circle, an inward circle with dots. That's all there is to it. And one thing I've come to realize over time with reviewing so many controllers, all of those different buttons, be it micro switches, tactile, membrane, they can all be great and they can all be terrible. A lot has to do with what you pair them with. And I will say this, the G7 Pro that has the potential to give the tactile kind of feel and buttons, the D-pad it so direly needs. So be super excited for that. Unfortunately, I didn't get to test it in a game, but it felt really, really good. Unfortunately, we won't know until we actually have them in our hands. But yes, I'm psyched with that D-pad. Put it this way, I'm really excited to see how it's gonna play in games, and it's giving me hope. It's giving me hope for sure. Lastly, before we end this video, there was a lot of dropship companies on the floor, but there was one OEM brand, which OEM basically is they build and you can slap your name on it and buy it and sell it as your product. And one of them was GCHT Gaming. And I've never come in contact. A lot of the products I've seen on that booth, I've seen with other brands. But there was a telescopic controller that I saw that I had never seen before, which felt interesting and could potentially be a competitor to the Galileo G8. I don't know if I'm going to be able to have review units from them, and I was kind of busy, so I didn't even stop to talk to a rep. That's a mistake on my part. That's a controller I had not seen, so that was exciting compared to the other dropship / OEM brands that I had seen on the show floor. And so that is it, guys. I'm putting this video together fairly quickly to sort of give you the recap of everything controllers that I've seen. I think the takeaway is I'm hoping to give them feedback on how they can make the CES experience for you guys at home and for us reviewers going to these shows better next year, and also for them, right? Because you're creating that buzz, you have the potential to get all that traction behind your brand, your name, and your products. So that's also what it is about. There's a lot of things that these shows are about, but that is definitely one of the opportunities. Hopefully next year is going to be even more psyched, even more hyped. I'd love to see these controller companies utilize that international eyeballs all looking at them more efficiently. And you can rest assured that I'll be the creator going there and capturing whatever I can. and hopefully doing an even better job next year, because I've learned a lot. If you have questions, if you have comments, please understand I'm not going to be able to divulge all the details, but what I can, I will. If you have questions, drop them in the comment box. I did take some notes during some of those videos, so I'm not going in depth into like the buttons and all that, but when I review said products, of course I will. Any feedback, please make sure to drop them in the comment box, and if I look tired, it's because I literally just got up from a nap after flying. Anyways, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.